Hello everyone and welcome back to another Figurehead Reviews video, and today we are taking a look at the Toys R Us exclusive 3-pack from Infinity War. We got Thor, Rocket Raccoon, and Groot. This was one of the last exclusives that Toys R Us had before they went under. A few stores did get them. I unfortunately was not able to find one at my Toys R Us before they closed. However, Entertainment Earth did pick up a lot of the exclusives, and that is where I got this. And it still actually has the Toys R Us exclusive sticker on it. But like I said, I got it from entertainmentearth.com, so you can pick that up from there as well. But anyway, we do have the figures in the front window box displayed. On the side, we get some artwork there of Thor with his eye patch. On this side, we got a picture of Groot and Rocket. And on the back, we get a product shot of Groot there playing with his tablet, Rocket with some heavy weaponry, and Thor definitely looking pretty tough there. And then we do have the read-up. When a blaster-toting raccoon, a teenage tree, and an Asgardian god get together, the journey is sure to be out of this world. And on the bottom is the UPC code, but as mentioned, this is only available, from what I've seen, on Entertainment Earth. You're not going to find it at a local retailer because no local retailers picked up the exclusives. But enough about that. Let's get this open and take a look at this 3-pack. And here is our trio outside of the packaging, and I think it was a pretty cool idea that Hasbro gave us these three, given that they went off on their own little side quest there during Infinity War. So it makes sense to give them a 3-pack, although I feel like Rocket is just kind of a, I don't want to say unnecessary, but very similar to the Rocket that we got during the Guardians Wave 2. But we get the eye patch Thor, which is great. And of course we get the teenage Groot, which I think everybody wants, especially if you have that evolution Groot. You more or less now have a Groot for every stage of his life, from a small potted plant to the toddler to the teenager and of course the full-grown adult. But very cool set, and we're going to get a better look at some of the accessories first. We got a couple of weapons for Rocket. We got, I believe it's pronounced Hofund, which is the Bifrost sword that comes with Thor, and then of course we're going to look at the little tablet for Groot, and then we're going to get a better look at the figures themselves. And here are all the accessories that we get with these figures. So as I mentioned, we have Hofund, the Bifrost sword, we have a large rifle for Rocket, 2 pistols, and Groot's tablet. So getting a closer look here, we'll start off with the sword, and really cool design. I'm not really sure why they included this, because in Infinity War, the only time it's used is by Heimdall, who sends Hulk back to Earth so that he can warn people of Thanos. But, you know, whatever. I mean, it's kind of cool. I think it would have been cooler if we actually would have gotten a Heimdall figure. Maybe in the Marvel 10 years, that would have been a good one. But the sword's really good looking. It is a little bent. You can see there at the hilt, which honestly is probably because I've had this figure displayed for a little bit with the sword in his hand, and I think I just hadn't moved it in a while, so I think it kind of molded to it. So that can usually be fixed, though. So, but looking at it, it's cool. Good paintwork, good inlaid as far as the inlaid design there, and yeah, nothing too fancy. Taking a look now at Groot, or not Groot, sorry, Rocket's rifle. And we get a very neat sci-fi looking weapon there, and you get a little bit of paint. What are those? Yeah, it looks like that's the only paint on it. I don't know, it's just a design, but very neat looking sci-fi weapon for sure. You know, has the small rocket size grips and everything down there, and yeah. Now the one thing, if I remember correctly, though, is that it fits kind of weird. Yeah, not too bad, I suppose, but you can't really get his finger in the trigger. So yeah, but there's a couple ways to display this. Maybe I'll try to show it off here with Rocket holding on to that. Oh, and Rocket's tail just fell off. I'll go over that though. And then we have these little pistols here, which are so small I'm actually going to put them in Rocket's hand to show them off. So this is the first one, and it kind of looks like almost like a flare gun type thing, but it's kind of like a 3-barrel pistol. Yeah, looks good, and it fits in his hand just fine. And then looking at his other blaster, which very reminiscent of like a Star Wars blaster, There we go. I think it looks like a scaled down Star Wars blaster personally, but yeah, it works as well. You saw I had on the intro there when they were first unpackaged, he was dual wielding these pistols, which I think I actually kind of prefer that look, even though Rocket's more about the big guns. But yeah, very cool. And then last we have Groot's tablet, which I know it's kind of hard to see, but it's made with this translucent blue, and it looks like it's more or less just paint spattered on there. The pink bits look like they're actually molded in, but those silver bits do look like it's paint. And it is, like I said, it is a translucent and flexible material. And Groot can hold on to it pretty decently, though, so no big deal there. But yeah, it's kind of cool that they put that on there. But let's go ahead now and get a better look at the figures. Starting first here with the big guy himself, we get a really good looking head sculpt here of Chris Hemsworth with his eye patch. And it's another one of those digital format or digital scan prints, but it comes out really well. We have the same hairstyle that we saw in Ragnarok, where he's got like the shaved sides there. We do get some lightning effect there coming out of his eye, and of course we do have his eye patch, which it looks like they missed a little bit of paint there, but no big deal. We do actually get some shading in the hair, which is pretty cool, so it doesn't just look like a blonde mop top there. We actually get some really good detail in the hair as well, to be honest with you. That shading they did really helps it out. So, yeah, really cool. Going down the rest of the figure here, so he has the trademark, I don't know, buttons, but they have these lightning effects coming off of those as well. So you get a cool, angry Thor effect there with the lightning from his chest and his eyes. And then taking a look at the arms, nothing special, bare arms. We get some wraps around his arms, and the hands there came out just fine, gripping hands, no issues with either of those. So he does have the sleeveless look going. The back, yeah, well sculpted, nothing crazy there either. And then he's just wearing pants and boots. So didn't really need a whole lot of sculpt work with this one. They just kind of added, got rid of his cape, did the new updated head sculpt there with the eye patch, and then gave those lightning effects. So, yeah, not a bad looking figure though. And next we have Teenage Groot, who I can just feel the levels of sass through this face sculpt. He's just got that furrowed brow and just some subtle attitude there. And we can see that they did some really cool shading there at the top with some of the green. They even painted his little leaf there at the top green. And at the top of his head, we get some detailing there with some more green paint. So that's cool that we don't have just a plain brown, that we do get some of that green shading. And then looking down at the rest of the figure, it's actually similarly sculpted to the other Groot that we've seen, the adult Groot. Just looks like tree bark, and we get some shading again, the green up at the top, shading around his arms, the back continuing with that bark look. His little butt cheeks, they looks like two planks of wood there. And yeah, I mean, they did a great job making him look the way they did, and that green highlight really does help set the figure apart. We get similar feet to what we had with the large Groot. But he does just look like a gangly teenager, and I think they did a really good job with this sculpt. I actually like how his neck there kind of is jutting forward a bit, so just sort of, again, that awkward, gangly teenager look if it were a tree. But yeah, I think they did a great job with this sculpt, and it's cool to finally get a complete look for Groot through his various age cycles there. But I just wanted to take a second look at those eyes real quick. Came out pretty good. Let's go ahead and take a look at Rocket. So getting up close here with Rocket, we can see some more of that digital painting effect where the line work becomes more of these little dots, and that just helps with some of the shading. It actually comes out pretty nice when you're looking at it from a distance, but it can be a bit jarring up close. We've seen that just with the Thor that we were just looking at, and with most of the MCU digital scan figures. Looking at his jaw, that is not articulated. Just to let you know, it is a separate piece, but it is not an articulated jaw. But the fur and everything came out looking good. His little body armor, well painted, well sculpted. And he's got fur all the way throughout. And then his tail actually has a habit of falling off. Let's port that back in. And you got some real subtle line work there on the tail. You can barely tell that it's got the black stripes of a raccoon, which I think I kind of wish they would have made that a little more pronounced, because from a distance it's almost, it's kind of hard to see. And with his face being very raccoonish, they did a good job with the eyes and such. I think it would have been cool if they had done the rest of the figure the same way. But he's not a bad looking figure, decent sculpt, and better articulation for sure than the Guardians 1 figure. But yeah, we'll go ahead and take a look at that next. And starting with the scale here, once again with Thor, we can see he's coming in at about 7 inches tall. So once again, the tallest Avenger that we have from the MCU. He has a head that can turn side to side, but you actually want to be careful. His chin is going to hit that collar, and it actually does kind of make it tough. I don't really want to force it, but it does make it tough to actually go all the way around. But thankfully, I don't think you're going to have to turn it too much further than necessary there. It can look up a fair amount. It can look down a fair amount. You have arms that can come up with a little bit of force there. Yeah, they can come up to a pretty decent T-pose. Of course, you do have full rotation. We have bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, and then you do have a hinge and rotation on the wrist, maybe? You do, but boy, he's just really stiff. And actually, it looks like the plastic might be stuck on this one a little bit. I'll have to work on that. He does have, in lieu of the normal ab crunch, he has the diaphragm joint, which can spin side to side. You get a decent ab crunch to it. You can actually go back pretty far, but you do get a little weird unmolded piece there. He does not have waist rotation because he has that. His legs can come apart, not bad. Kicks forward, kicks backwards. He does have a upper thigh cut, double jointed knees. He does not have any kind of boot rotation, but he does have an ankle hinge with plenty of ankle pivot. And looking at teenage Groot here, we can see he's coming in almost 6 inches, about 5 3/4 inches tall, so he is pretty tall for his age. Looking at the head sculpt there, we get full rotation. He can look down. He could not look up very far, though, because that does hit the back of his neck, and with his neck sticking out the way it does, that is kind of unfortunate, but that's honestly not going to be too big of an issue. He does have arms that come up. Let's see. I feel like I'm forcing it here. Yeah, it's kind of sticking, and you can see I peeled a little bit of plastic there. So you're not getting quite a full 90 degrees from the looks of things. You do, of course, get full rotation. He does have a single jointed elbow, and he does have rotation at the elbow, and then he does have rotation and a hinge on the wrists. He does have a diaphragm joint, which of course can rotate all the way around. And then he does have a little bit backwards, a little bit forwards, but not a whole lot going on. No type of waist rotation. He has legs that could go apart that far, kick forward, kick backwards, single jointed knees, and rotation at the knee. He doesn't have rotation anywhere else, but he's not wearing any boots. So, and then he does have a ankle hinge with ankle pivot. And getting a quick look at, there we go. Getting a quick look at Rocket. He actually comes in with the angle of this. He's actually closer to 3 inches, but he is a pretty short character for sure. Looking at his articulation, so you have a head that can go side to side. Oops, and now it's not on a ball joint, notice that, and as I went around, it just pops off when it hits a spot that it didn't want to spin around to. And because it's not on a hinge, really side to side is all you get, and he will kind of angle his head upwards when you do turn it to the side, so you don't get any kind of up or down out of that. He's got arms that can come up actually pretty far into a decent T-pose there, and you do get full rotation on the arm. You do have a single jointed elbow with rotation at the elbow as well, and you don't get a hinge, but you do have swivel there on the wrist. He does have this little diaphragm joint, so you can get some side to side. don't get much of a crunch. No, don't really get any kind of crunch there. He does have leg joints. You can kick, go that far apart, kick forward that far, kick backwards, meh. He does have a single knee joint that also has rotation on it, and then he does not have any kind of hinge or pivot. He just has some side-to-side motion there on his foot. And then his tail that keeps popping off does have just that little port there, and that does actually have some articulation to it as well to go up and down, and of course, but of course you can also put it off to the side if you wanted to. I will tell you, for me, he's going to be using this tail for support a lot when I have him standing up. I'm probably going to have that tail just kind of helping to support him standing up. So, yeah. And here we have the 3-pack Thor standing next to the Cull Obsidian Wave Thor. And we can see it is the same body mold. We do have, of course, the different arms because you have the scale armor on these arms, not on these arms. And then looks like what they did is just these guys are still here. They just don't have the cloak taped to them, or glued to them rather. And in fact, yeah, the same collar and everything. So it's the same figure, just without the cloak there and the different arms. And here is Rocket displayed with his Guardians of the Galaxy Wave 1 figure from, way back in the first Guardians movie. And we can see much better articulation and detailing with this new one, which again is, I believe, the same one as the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 Wave 2 figure lineup. And the only gripe that I'll mention now real quick, since we're on the topic, this gun does not really, you can't really do much with it in his hand. So really kind of having it just sort of displayed as if he's just ready to attack seems like the better thing, because I don't know, it seems hard to get him to hold it in any type of pose that looks like he's about to shoot. And then you have the problem that if you do, it's going to be angled that way. And I don't know how good, I don't know, maybe. But yeah, there they are. And here we have an even more complete evolution of Groot. We have the potted plant and toddler versions of Groot that came with the Evolution of Groot Toys R Us exclusive. Then we have, of course, the teenager Groot, and then the adult Groot, which is much, much bigger than any of the others. So big difference in all the scale there as you go up, and Groot gets bigger. And then finally, here is one last shot of the three of these guys together. And yeah, like I said, I think this was a cool set to get, and yeah, I'm glad that we got it. And that about does it for this review, everyone. So overall, I think it was a very cool set to get. I like that we got this version of Thor, which is the beaten up, eye patch version that we got at the beginning of Infinity War. Again, I'm not really sure why he came with the Bifrost sword. I really wish we would just get a Heimdall figure, but yeah. And then, of course, getting Teenage Groot was certainly a fan favorite. Rocket seemed like maybe they were just padding the price point by including him as another figure, when really this is the same Rocket that came with that Guardians Wave 2, which I'll be doing a review on that soon. I actually picked up the figures there. If you don't know, Five Below had them very cheap. So I'll be doing a review shortly on those, and we'll be able to see that Rocket. But it is the same. I don't have them out of the package yet, but it's the same Rocket. I will say, though, the newer articulation of Rocket is actually really cool. This going on right here, that is balanced. And it actually was a little bit easier. I have his foot sort of tucked in on his chin, but that is just balanced on there. And I think that's actually a really cool way to pose him. But to prove that it's just a simple balance, yeah, it just fell right off. But yeah, I thought that was actually pretty cool, and a unique way to do it. I'm not gonna be able to repeat it with one hand. But anyway, cool set. Entertainment Earth took this over from Toys R Us for their exclusive, so worth checking out that Entertainment Earth website to get this set, especially, like I said, if you want the Teenage Groot. But overall, really cool. Pick it up, guys. With that being said, if you like this review, make sure to hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't done so already for more content just like this. And aside from that, thanks for watching my video, and have a great day.